Welcome to the Dirtbag State of Mind podcast from the Climbing Zine. This is episode 4 of season 7, Dope Me a Trad Princess with Mary Eden. This was one of my all-time favorite conversations I've had here on the show. I really love the multifaceted personality that Mary has, and I've known her for a little while now, but this was, I think, the first time we talked this much in depth. But we did have a lot of communication and a lot of great conversations when she was working on her piece Wide Tour, which is kind of the feature story in the most recent zine. Mary's on the cover of volume 25. She was just a big presence. She had a lot of photography as well. If you're a new listener and you're curious about the Climbing Zine, we are a print publication, and you can subscribe at our website, shop.climbingzine.com. People collect the Climbing Zine, and then we also have issues that we've had printed a lot of, so we try to post those up on sale. So if you're balling on a budget, reading on a budget, definitely check out those sales at our site, shop.climbingzine.com. You can also read stories at climbingzine.com, and we've got a huge archive of podcasts here wherever you're streaming this podcast. This episode is sponsored by Kilter. Looking for a fun way to train at home or at the gym? Check out the Kilter board. Kilter board has innovative light-up holds, a progressive app, and animated functions with climbs for all abilities, and 2 layouts to choose from with large online communities for each. There are over 160,000 problems in the original Kilter board layout, and the largest full-ride home wall layout comes with over 17,000 problems. You can set, tick climbs, make shareable playlists, watch send videos for motivation and beta, and even add your own videos to share with other users. Kilter has multiple wall sizes and package options available, so we can help get a Kilter board in almost any space. Check out Kilter at settercloset.com and look for more information in our show notes. This episode is brought to you by Osprey. Located just down the road from the Climbing Zine headquarters in Cortez, Colorado, Osprey is the leader in technical packs for technical pursuits. Osprey has an unwavering commitment to both conservation as well as sustainability. They are a pinnacle member of the Conservation Alliance, and 80% of their full-line product in spring 2025 are Blue Sign products. Also new for spring is the Transporter Liner duffels, built for hauling gear to the ends of the earth and back. Built with the lightest and most durable new NanoTough material made from 100% recycled materials. Visit your local retailer to find out more about Osprey or visit osprey.com. This episode is also sponsored by Scarpa. As many of our listeners know, I spent my last winter down in El Potrero Chico, Mexico. And this last winter, I was exclusively climbing in Scarpa shoes. The terrain of the limestone in Potrero is incredibly sharp, so it's a type of rock that really bites through the rubber on your shoes. And I was pleased to say that the 2 pairs of shoes that I used this winter totally held up and lasted me through the entire winter, and I'm still using them here back in Colorado in the springtime. I had the Instinct VSRs for a little more overhanging terrain or when I had to heel hook, and I used the Vapor lace-ups on more of the legendary, technical, small foothold type of terrain. Both of these shoes really lasted me well through the season, and if you'd like to get your own pair of Scarpas, check out scarpa.com, and we also have some affiliate links in our show notes that you can get a discount and score your own pair and support the Climbing Zine. Without further ado, let's get into this conversation with my friend Mary Eden. I am here in Moab with Mary Eden at her very, very beautiful house.
That I rent.
You know, rolling into Moab, I don't spend as much time in this area as I used to. There's a comforting feel from the cliffs, and then now I'm looking at your actual art. This isn't just art you have hanging on the walls. Like, you produce a lot of this art. It gives me like the same feel of the Moab area.
Aww, so that's really nice. Thanks.
Yes, you are an incredible artist. And thanks. Like we were talking before the mics came on, I know you primarily in the context of climbing and storytelling and things like that. So it's really cool to see another aspect of your personality.
I feel like it's not something I share very much just because my art has been a really personal thing to me. that I've always been a little bit cautious or shy about, but climbing has never been the thing I've been shy about. So it's way easier to share a route you're psyched on or a climb that your friend did or things that you're teaching. It's super, super easy for me. But yeah, like my art is a different story.
I will hope you do some sort of art exhibit or something someday. I would love to come to that.
I would love to do that. I've done 2 in the past and was so anxious the whole time. That's why I stopped doing them. But I think I just need to get over that and just do it.
I was thinking about how we first met because I love to dig back into those things with conversations with zine people because I feel like I've known you for a long time through working together.
Yeah.
And I was trying to pinpoint it, and I think it was through Kaya Lindsay's photos.
Yeah.
Or photos of Kaya.
Yeah, because Kaya is a really good writer, and I've shot a lot of photos of her.
Yeah, and you shot some photos of her in working with people with photography, writing. Every person is different.
Yeah.
And you were very generous. And you're like, sure, use the photo, pay me whatever. And some people were surprised when I pay for photos. I do always offer payment. Some people refuse it. Like Tom Randall is famous for refusing payment, and several other people too. But you were very generous. And so I had this persona of you, trad princess. You know? And then working together, you're like, oh, she's just really chill. Well, where did trad princess come from in the first place?
Oh, that's actually super funny. It came out of me being really crusty and really unfair because I did not like social media. I didn't like it. I don't know why, but I just didn't like Instagram. You know, I definitely would like throw a bunch of albums up on Facebook for every like hike or whatever that I did or like climbing season. But I just didn't like the idea of Instagram. And I was complaining about it to my roommate and really good friend, Jesse Wheeler. And we were having like a Mary Jessie art day, which we would have when we had like these days that would align off work. And so it would be like special. We'd wake up on those days and be like, oh my gosh, you have the day off today too? Wow, let's do a day. You know, we would like go out to breakfast, do art at the house, maybe go for a hike later on. And I remember complaining to Jesse about Instagram. I'm like, I don't know. I can't really understand it. And he was like, oh, that's a lot of work. It's actually supposed to bring people together. And, you know, he was like, I bet you couldn't do it. And I was like, what? I think I could freaking do it. And he was like, I bet you couldn't do it. And he's like, and I'll like back up your bet. And he is like, I will buy you any cam you want if you can, you know, get on Instagram and like become more known or whatever, you know, because I was like, I don't like the idea of being like known, I guess was more of my complaint. Because I think I'm more of like realistically a shy person and an anxious person. So I was like, I don't like that. Like, feels weird. It just feels weird. And but Jesse bet me that I couldn't do it. And I didn't have like a huge rack back then. So I was like, bet. I won. He had to buy me a number 6.
I love that. And so was the trad princess, was that like...
That was also a joke because I love to climb. I don't care what I climb. I just love to climb. I like ice climbing. I like sport climbing. I love bouldering. Like, I love alpine climbing. I love adventure climbing. I love CHOS. I love crack climbing. I love traditional climbing, like not just crack climbing, traditional climbing. It doesn't really matter to me. I just like climbing. But I have my favorites, you know, and my favorite is crack climbing. I love crack climbing. And I'll do that more and more than other things. So it was like when me and Jesse were sitting there like brainstorming like names and stuff, we just thought it would be really funny to kind of like make fun of my habit of like mostly doing trad climbing and how I was like, oh, I need to go sport climbing this season. And then I would pivot and just like crack climb or like traditional climb instead. Or I would like think about going to a trip to Ten Sleep, but instead I would go on a trip and just go to the Black Canyon instead and just want to go trad climbing. And so I was kind of like a diva princess about it. I mean, like, oh, that's like really what I want to do. And just like constantly just keep going that way. So that's how we chose that. It was like the trad princess, like, oh, she just wants to go trad climbing. She's such a diva about it. And, you know, I thought it was a great name for me to have in this challenge because I wanted to challenge myself not to just do what I enjoyed the most and just kind of like make fun of myself a little bit, being like, oh yeah, don't be so like seeking out your favorite versions of things. You do love all climbing, but like, don't just do your favorite versions of the thing. You know, like you like, you know, eating vegetables, but if you only ever eat green beans, that's kind of weird. You know, you need to eat other things too. So that was that. I kept doing social media because I was a guide, and I realized that it allowed me to connect with people who wanted to learn from me. And so it became like this thing that, yeah, made me really anxious sometimes still, but it was worth it because it connected me with like so many women and people who wanted to come to me to learn. And I was like, this is so valuable. This is so important to me. This is, you know, it kind of like makes me super anxious, and that people know me before I know them. They have an advantage in the connection, you know, this like preconceived notion. And I'm starting from nothing. I know nothing. So that always made me anxious, but it's like, it's worth that social discomfort because it's brought me to so many amazing people. And it's also helped me like keep growing my business and like, yeah, taking me to amazing places and get to work with people like you know, like, and really lean into doing more of my photography. So it's just like, instead of my photos living on a hard drive and never seeing the light of day, they got put on social media and then eventually got put into print and, you know, maybe in some people's websites or maybe in a magazine and an ad. And it's like super satisfying to like not hide in the shadows and be willing to like put yourself out there, which I think is cool.
That's such a cool answer. And so you were, you know, I had this perception of you because I think when you are someone who has a lot of followers on social media, there's this conception maybe of jealousy or different things like that. But when then I met you in real life,
yeah,
you broke that down right away with usually like a dirty joke or something. Like, well, she's just a jokester. But I love that answer because there are many people on social media that use it to amplify their ego.
Yeah.
And Trad Princess probably would have got scooped up, you know, by someone eventually, but that's a dope name. And yeah, someday I hope you make $1 million off the Trad Princess name.
That would be pretty cool.
You can buy your house in Moab.
Maybe I could buy the house I'm renting. I really like this place.
I want to frame this conversation a lot in the context of your essay wide tour.
Yeah.
Which we are looking at here, volume 25. Volume 25, your imprint is just on this issue so much. You not only are on the cover and wrote a long feature story, but you have, you know, really cool photography of some of your mentees, especially in there. How do you say Sam's last name?
McElwain.
McElwain. It's really hard to spell because there's like an I and an L.
I know, it's super strange.
And we were just chatting with Sam. And she's on the back cover of this issue, and it's just a really beautiful photo. And then you also have a great photo of your friend on a hazelnut.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so your imprint is just on this issue so much. And we've talked about this personally, and I've talked to other people about this because I've gotten a lot of great feedback on this essay.
Oh, good. Good.
I ran into someone who knew you were you from Alabama or Arkansas or?
Oh gosh.
Where are you from?
Kentucky.
Kentucky, sorry. I ran into someone that knew you back in the day, and I was explaining the process in Potrero. I don't remember who the guy was, but he was like, I was telling him the process because, you know, just to outline this for the listener, you worked on this essay for an entire year.
So long.
And I remember it's cool to be in person because we had conversations. I can remember I was in a hotel room, like driving to Mexico one time. We talked about it for an hour. And then I remember I was in Wyoming and we talked about it for an hour. I remember I was at a roadside stop in Colorado where I always have long conversations for some reason, like the San Luis Valley. And so you worked on this essay for so long, and I love to geek out about writing. I love to geek out about art and photography. I think as time goes by, I think writing is more and more important. But you wrote so many drafts of this piece, and you broke it down in many things, and then you would almost rewrite the whole thing. I was like, you should keep this. But I always knew with every draft, because I kind of work the opposite. I try to keep things. I never try to discard thousands of words. But you were just like, all right, this is going away. And I'm like, Mary, what are you doing? And the conclusion of it is that you came together with this really great essay. Had you ever written anything? I mean, this is a long essay. Have you ever written anything that long before?
Not this long before. And honestly, like, I'm more of a visual artist. You know, first I was someone who drew, and then I was a painter, and then, you know, I sculpted, and then I got into photography, and I've always been like a visual person with my expression. I have a really hard time expressing myself with words. I'm more of like a doer, not a speaker. And if I do speak, it's usually nonsense and trying to make jokes and like make things light. Maybe because I'm anxious or whatever. Just I want people to have a good time. But like expressing myself visually has always been easier than expressing it verbally. So writing is very hard. True writing, not just like when you're in school, you write an essay. It's like intro, 3 paragraphs, exit. Like that's fine.
Being creative with the
creative with the writing and actually saying something with substance.
And you're vulnerable in this essay too.
Yeah, that was super hard.
it's cool because we'll publish a great writing about 5.6s. You know, this essay I always refer in volume 22 by Katie Griffith. She writes about bailing on a 5.6.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite essays.
Yeah,
I've never read this one, but
I need to because I haven't.
Yeah, she's so good. But you're vulnerable. But then you're also writing about a high level of climbing. But let's go back kind of to the beginning of the essay because it's about you getting into off-width.
Yeah.
And you did not love off-width climbing at first.
No. In
the essay, you're like, let's bail and go somewhere else. Vitavu, right?
Yeah.
Which is, you know, legendary for hard, gritty off-widths and harder grades. So, yeah, can you just talk about your beginning into off-width and what it was like to write about that and reflect on it and all that?
I mean, beginning and off-width, you know, I just like to go rock climbing. So I was down to try and like do anything and like work on weaknesses and stuff. Like the whole name, the social media name, right? But like at heart, I was an adventure climber, just liked adventurous trad climbing. So yeah, like grinding my body up short Vitavu off-widths instead of going to Devil's Tower was like less attractive, and I just super wanted to bail. I feel like what made me pursue more of off-width was the desire to not hate any form of rock climbing, you know, and to just become better at it, just out of principle. It was mostly motivated from my own like dislike of doing it. I was kind of more the one that dragged people out and been like, okay, we got to get better at this. Also, because I was like, also adventure routes are a lot easier when you can climb the off-width pitches. And I didn't mind who I climbed with. And I'm not like the most desirable partner for adventure routes if I'm trying to like go into a campground and find a stranger to do, you know, sexuality with or like whatever.
You still have to do that?
Well, back then it was harder. Yeah. So I was like, how can I make myself like more attractive to like climb with? Because I'm like slow hiker, I'm asthmatic, I can't really haul very well. I don't like carrying a bunch of weight because I'm like 100 pounds. I'm so small, you know, and it's just like I feel like a lot of people didn't want to just agree until they had climbed with me. But I could always get a partner if I agreed to take the off-width pitches. I'd be like, I'll lead the off-width pitches. It's kind of like being the person willing to climb the slab pitches, you know, being like, I'll do the thing you hate the most. I just want to do this route. So it was like motivated from just kind of a desire to get better at it and also that. And then my friends that started to get into it with me, they were super motivating to keep doing it. Like Sadie. Sadie was so fun to learn off-width climbing with. It was such a good time. And later, you know, Kaya, and that was a great time. And then later, Samantha, Sam. So, you know, these women like helped make off-width climbing beautiful to me when I just found it really grindy.
Well, I think that is a really cool thing about partnerships is that when you balance it out, like when you are in a big route, your weaknesses come out. And then if you have that partner that can even out your weaknesses, I think it's a really beautiful thing. I mean, I think any of my best climbs of like, oh, I see this weakness, like I suck at hauling and I suck at logistics. But then you find that partner that's good at that and you find your strengths, and it is quite beautiful when you're able to do that. Yeah.
It's totally different now though, because my partner Sam Foreman and I, we both love adventure routes, long days, and we both like the grungy offwits now. So we kind of like fight over the grungy offwits. We're like, oh, I want the grungy offwit pitch. Oh, I want the grungy offwit pitch. So it's actually kind of funny. It totally backfired in the long run because now I have to like, rock, paper, scissors for the grungy offwit because we both want it.
Well, you found love. So.
Exactly. I found someone too similar.
Yeah. And you also had some negative experiences within off-with culture. And I think that's a beauty of writing is that you can really say what you want to say about the toxicity of it all. But and I think that was something we worked together in the writing process too, is like, how do you tell this story? I personally, with the Climbing Zine, I don't like to use names. I think that it was bullying, it was emotional abuse, whatever it was, but I'd like to hear whatever you'd like to say on that and then discuss how you transformed it and let it guide you as a mentor to other people.
I feel like that article took as long as it did because it was so hard to look at all that stuff and revisit it and also speak on it in a way that wasn't just that was going, I don't know, it's hard to talk about that because if you say, hey, like I was severely bullied, then there are people who are going to be like, oh, no, you weren't, or that's just drama, or you just have a problem with so-and-so, or you are just jealous. And it's like, no, none of those things. I did nothing. I was barely even like around that person. They decided to try to make my life miserable and make me quit rock climbing. There was no reason. And I feel like as an adult, that's really hard to process that there can just be people who want you to fail and who try to make you fail for no reason. It's hard and it's like not logical. And I couldn't understand it at the time I was going through it. It really broke me down. I almost quit rock climbing. It affected my partners. Some of them don't climb anymore because of it. Like it succeeded with them. Another reason I kept off with climbing was spite. I was just like, you've gotten away with this behavior because it does make people quit. It does affect them horribly and it makes them quit. Whereas could have been so many more Samanthas that would have really came into their potential in that genre, but they quit. It shouldn't have been this thing. It's just freaking climbing. Like, I don't understand. I never will.
Do you feel like there's a misconception that the whole climbing community is very supportive?
Well, I used to think that. I used to idealize the climbing community until I learned that community means people and people are human and human means a lot of different things. Like humans are flawed. Humans have great things about them. Humans have bad things about them. Humans have issues and they bring all these things to their community. Yeah, the climbing community is great in a lot of ways, but there's also a lot of members of the community that have some really problematic flaws and behaviors that they've gotten away with maybe, or, that people don't want to deal with or don't want to really look in the face or acknowledge. I mean, Charlie Barrett's a great example of that. He was a very prominent member of the community. A lot of these problematic people are prominent members of the community and they have the most power and they can do a lot of damage. They wanted me to just end more than just climbing. That's horrible. These people are in climbing, but they're also in everywhere. It's not that the climbing community is this evil thing. There's really beautiful people, really middle ground people, and then some people with problems. I think the thing I would love from the climbing community is just to not tolerate the things just out of like a desire not to deal with it or assigning labels, or to allow people who mistreat others to get away with it because you want something from them. I encountered that a lot. People who are okay with that behavior because they wanted something from their association with a person. And I just think it's like weird. You should have some standards. You should have some morals. You could want the human race to be better, but they're kind of gonna do what they do.
I've thought about this a lot. I don't have the rosy picture of the climbing community that I once had.
Same,
and it is, some of it has been through personal interactions and different things like that, but it's just also a reality. But then I think, well, why do we come back to it that it is special? And I think it's because we do have to trust people a lot.
Yeah.
Like basketball doesn't have a trust,
No.
football doesn't have a trust that climbing has inherently in it.
Do you know they say it's really hard to make close friends when you're an adult?
It totally is.
Right.
Absolutely. We're so lucky.
Yeah, but in climbing, is it really that hard to make close friends? Not really. If you go climbing with someone every day for 2 weeks, you're probably going to think of them as a close friend. Whereas if you, played basketball with somebody or other sports, you might not have that deep of a connection. It's because we are trusting people so quickly, right? Like with belaying, they have your life in your hands and you have all these amazing experiences outside and you have all this like implicit trust that you give to them right away. And then you go on adventures together. And that's like so much dopamine and so much connection and so many special memories. You know, when I go rock climbing, it's special to me. It's play. I get to go have fun and I get to play with this person and I trusted this person and we got to laugh all day, make silly jokes, watch a sunset together. That's like really deep and meaningful. And even if you only got to do that with that person for 2 weeks, you're always going to have like really fond memories from them. You might not know anything about them, actually. Most of my really good friends in climbing, like I love them. I think they're amazing people. I maybe know 40% of their last names. I forget their last name. Where are they actually from? You don't actually fully know people, but you know them. And that's like a really weird catch-22 with climbing because you can feel like you've connected with this amazing person, this great person, but actually truly not know them.
It's like the beginning days of a relationship when you're whatever that's called, you know, like sometimes you don't see certain sides of your intimate partner until years, you know, into it.
I feel like I read a lot of stories about the Charlie thing of people who thought of him as a really close friend and they never saw evidence of these horrible things he'd done. People struggled with that. And they're like, I thought he was like a brother to me and then he was a rapist. Like, it's hard. The people that I experienced those negative things from, I had on a pedestal. I thought they were the most amazing people ever. And then I got to climb with them maybe 6 times over the span of a year. Every time was like amazing until it got really strange and like the real stuff, the problems that they had came up. But it was like so hard to reconcile both things, that you can have an amazing time with someone. They can be really gregarious. They can be really charming. They can be really, really amazing. You can have this like amazing special experience with them, but they can also be messed up and want to do people harm. That's really hard to have.
It's so human.
It's so human. Like, you're just like, whoa, it's so hard. I struggle with that too. And I had this pessimistic moment where I met this girl. I was teaching her some climbing and stuff. And then she said something like really like complimentary. She was like, you're like the best person I've ever met. And I was like, I've climbed with you for 2 days. You don't know me. You know nothing about me. You just know what I presented to you in 2 days of really fun rock climbing. You don't actually know who I am. Don't put me on a pedestal.
Well, that goes back to you probably changed that person's life. There's that famous saying, never meet your heroes. It's like a half truth. Climbers aren't my heroes. I just don't operate like that, you know? But I think of Jimmy Dunn, who you met recently.
Dude, he's so awesome.
He's the sweetest man. Yeah. And he is Jimmy Dunn. And you meet him and you're like, he is the sweetest human on the planet, you know? And don't you think we need heroes in climbing? Or heroes, not the right word, but role models maybe?
It's hard because I don't think we should idealize anyone, but you should remember that they're humans. And honestly, too, there are people who put me on a pedestal and it makes me feel really anxious because I actually just want to be their friend. It's hard when you're engaging in a relationship with that kind of person where they just want to put you on a pedestal and like you could do no wrong and they take everything you say as facts. And I'm like, no, please have some doubt. I don't want to be this person above you. I want to be this person with you. I want you to invite me rock climbing. I want to go rock climbing with you. I don't want it just to be like me inviting you and like teaching you the whole time. I want this to be a partnership. We should have role models, but they should be your friends and they should be people that you want to take care of and they want to take care of you. I don't want to put a stranger on a pedestal. I don't want to have a role model that's a stranger. My best role models that have made the biggest difference in my life are the people that are really good at what they do and or the way they treat people or the way that they think, and they become my friend and I get to learn from them and they care about me and I care about them. Those are the best role models I've had. And I think instead of putting people on a pedestal for like, you know, an accomplishment, think about who they are as people, what they've accomplished alongside of how they've treated others and what they've done around them, I think is like a better way of thinking. Because I used to idealize climbers and people, but then the people who really changed my life were the role models who are human to me and my friends.
Wow. You put that really great
Thanks.
way. Yeah, that's great. And another thing that makes climbing unique is that in every sport, most of these mainstream sports, these people you see on TV, you'll never have access to them without money or,
totally,
in some way.
I think these athletes, what they do is really cool, but you shouldn't have this huge emotional investment in that.
But that's what American culture does with sports. You look at every person in the stands has the same shirt on. And
maybe I'm just broken because I had such a crap experience with that mindset. I feel like when you're burnt really badly, you're like, ooh, don't have that mindset because it really messed up years of my life. So I have maybe like a different perspective. I don't think it's all bad. Maybe like there's somewhere in the middle. But the people I had on a pedestal before, the Wide Boys, for example, I thought what the Wide Boys did back in the day when I was first learning was super cool. But I wasn't that emotionally attached because they were just dudes. And I really liked them. They were cool. I was like, ooh, they're cool. But they were dudes. I had other people on my pedestal. But then when I met them and got to know them, and Tom really was like a positive influence in my life. And he gave me my first training plan with no strings attached. He was just like, here's a spreadsheet. If you want to get strong, you kind of were working out alone by yourself over there with the frying pan, and because you didn't buy weights, but here's maybe this way to approach a project, giving me little nuggets of knowledge. And then I saw the way he interacted with his family, his climbing partners, his friends, the way he also ran his businesses professionally. Whoa, holy shit, this person is somebody that I should look up to because they're extremely kind, extremely supportive. When they decide to do something, they pursue it with the best of their ability as much as they can. Anybody can pull hard if they have enough time to pull hard. I think it's way harder to be a good human.
You realize this desire to mentor other climbers through your crack camps and latching on to people like Sam and Spencer. But you also connected with this climber, Mason Earl. I feel like I know Mason, but I don't think I've ever met him. We both lived in Durango,
so cool.
And I was well aware of his crack run. It seems like he's getting better, but he basically was at high level of crack climbing and then stopped, right?
Yeah.
You said a lot of his off-widths
100%
were the hardest ones.
I can't speak for Mason, but I feel like he had a minor spite toward himself. And I just noticed that Mason's grades were like a completely different journey. And it felt like a response to some of the bad behaviors of the past.
Oh, okay.
And, you know,
making a statement.
It felt like it. Yeah. And, I respected it and I liked it. And also, you don't expect it, but like Mason's the nicest person ever in the whole world. He's so nice and he's so kind. He was always like really kind to me, even when I first started my social media, and like people didn't like it, and that's like totally fine. I didn't like it. So, but Mason was always like really nice and supportive. Every so often he would just send me something like, you're doing so good. You're getting stronger, and so I definitely.
This is still when he's at his peak of his game. Yeah.
No, when he was at his like.
Oh, this was when
he was sick. I just have a lot of respect for him because he's like so supportive and so kind, and like he also did amazing athletic accomplishments, and he put up a lot of really good routes, and he is also a musician. He was such a multifaceted human. This is so cool. When he was a little bit better, I told him I was going to go for his hardest off-width, The Price of Evil. And I was like...
And there's a photo of that, of you on that in the
zine,
right?
Yeah. I think I'm fisting. He responded really positively, and he was like, I would love to come and just like hang out and watch. I was like so nervous about that. I got so socially anxious about it. But, that was amazing. I was so nervous about it, him watching, that I biffed my first go. I was like shaking so bad.
Where is this located at?
It's right on the side of the road as you enter Indian Creek.
So it's by Blue Gamma? Blue Gamma?
Kind of, yeah.
Like the grass, right?
Yeah.
I had a grandma named Blue Grandma. That was her nickname.
Really?
Yeah, I gave it to her. And the last time I saw her, I got to tell her I climbed at this wall called Blue Gamma.
Oh.
Anyways, yeah. Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's
it's a
just
big.
past the blue gamma wall, or
It's either the past or before. It's
okay, yeah.
before you get to Terrified Cave and
I don't even know where that is.
the nice hand crack in front of Terrified.
Oh, didn't even know about
Can't
that one.
remember the name of it. I'm really bad sometimes with
Terrified
memory.
Cave.
Yeah, it's
Cool.
a really good finger crack in there.
Is it before White City?
Probably.
Because White City's not, you don't climb there, it's just like petroglyphs, right?
Yeah,
Or-
it's
yeah.
yeah. I think it's right before. It's like Price of Evil is close. It's 50 feet from the petroglyphs. Like he had to like hike and make sure that it
Make
was
sure
legal.
it was legal. Okay.
Yeah, and like it's gonna be okay. But it's like the big butthole that you see on the right hand side of the road as you enter Indian Creek, and it's a pitch up.
Indian Creek's butthole.
It is, honestly. Yeah, but it was so cool to get to do it. And it was funny because, yeah, I shook off basically. I was so nervous and then like had to back aid and I just had to sit there and like unanxiety myself for 45 minutes. And in that time, like Mason didn't started to not feel good, so he had to go back home. And then I sent my second go that day as soon as like, you know, really cool person wasn't watching anymore. Man, if I know I'm being watched by someone I like, I just have such a struggle. I'm like, oh no. I don't know. I'm very anxious. I think when you put yourself out there so much, people don't think that you are. It's a lot easier to put things on a phone and then walk away versus interacting with humans in real life. Humans are scary. I think it's funny. It's like, I'm way more afraid of you than you are of me.
Well, let's talk about your crack camps and being a mentor and channeling some of the negative experiences you've had in the past. It's really cool how you did that. And I was bullied as a kid in school, but I think being bullied as a teenager is pretty normal for boys. And you bully other people, you bully your brother. And but I think it formed like a sense of justice within me.
Yeah.
And then also like your place in the world. There's so much I love about your essay. The photography is just stunning. That's what we started with too, was photography. Yeah, just talk a little bit about how you realized you got your spite out in the climbing, but your expression wasn't totally like just this negative thing. It's something that turned quite positive.
The thing is if you're doing anything via spite alone, you'll burn out. You know, you have to turn that into a love of doing the thing. Otherwise, it's such a shallow motivator. And that was kind of cool to realize that I actually did like it. I want my legacy in climbing to be a lot of people that I've gotten to share my knowledge with who are better than me at rock climbing and who are also invested in carrying forward the things that I think are important, like good values, treating people well, teaching people how to accomplish their dreams. I want that to be what I leave behind, is people who are teaching others, leading by example. That's actually just something that's important to me. It has nothing to do with the negative experience. Yeah, I kind of developed that sense of justice and did that, but if that was just the only reason, it would have just been once. So there has to be like multiple motivators for doing things that are hard. People who rock climb and they want to project a hard grade, if they're just in it for the acclaim and for the results, they will burn out in a couple years, versus the people who are kind of more intrinsically motivated because they enjoy the experience and they enjoy pushing themselves. Those are the ones that are probably going to keep doing more and more and more and more routes. It's kind of like that with the teaching or doing the off-wits. If I just was motivated from a negative experience, then I would have burnt out very fast. But I actually love teaching. It's very important to me. I just love crack climbing. I do enjoy just climbing. So there's a lot of beautiful off-wits, like the photography you talk about. Like there's a lot of beautiful ones. There's a lot of ugly ones, but there's a lot of beautiful ones. And I'm an artist. I jokingly say I'm visually stimulated. Oh, wow, that's like a really beautiful roof crack. That's a really beautiful splitter up, pitch up. Arguably, Price of Evil is not that beautiful, but it's beautiful in a different way. It's beautiful in its movement and its challenge. And so if you are motivated partially from the art of it all, which I am, and I don't like a climbing experience to just be physical. I like it to be mental. I also like it to be visual for me. So I like taking the time to shoot a climb. These are things that I enjoy doing for fun. It's not work to me, unless like you make it work. But
So if someone
sometimes
wants to,
hobby is work, but
yeah, oh gosh, we could do a whole conversation about that line,
Yeah.
Which you seem to be doing a really good job at it. How can someone find out about your classes? I'm guessing you do them in the spring and the fall.
I do them in the spring and the
Yeah.
fall. You can go to my social media page. You could also go on Google and Google like Crack Camp, and Red River Adventures will pop up, and that's who I run it through. I've worked with Carl for a decade now. So yeah, I also teach sport climbing clinics, but just they're not as popular because they're in Europe and much harder to get to, I think.
I'll
Yeah.
take one of those.
Yeah. We're doing a sailing Greece one this
What?
fall. Yeah.
That's so cool. Before I forget, we have a listener question from Julia Bond, I think is her name. Her Instagram, was it Prince by Jules? We were just looking at it. Looks great. We both enjoyed
Yeah,
Jules.
that was
so
really cool.
She had a question about merging your passions of art and climbing, how you do that.
I feel like this question is difficult to answer because I don't even think it's something I've really thought about. I think it's something that happened really naturally. I moved to Moab after I graduated high school, and before my art was like a fantasy things, like fantasy creatures, dragons, like dorky things that I cringe a little bit about, and like fantasy landscapes and castles and stuff. And I moved to Moab, and all of a sudden, the landscape here was more beautiful than anything I was imagining when I was living in Kentucky. I immediately became disinterested in making the art that I normally did. My first landscape was Delicate Arch. I don't want to sound like an asshole, but it was really good. It was a really good painting. And so then I just kept doing more landscapes. I did a sunset storm behind Balance Rock and just kind of other like landscape hikes I got to go on that I was like, these are super beautiful. And I would snap a picture with my crappy little 20 megapixel camera and paint it later. And then I discovered rock climbing, and I was taking butt pics of climbers, and I was like, wow, that's so cool. And started doing my first towers, and I was like, this is the most amazing view I've ever seen. And so then I started painting those moments that I thought were like so cool, or like the most amazing thing I ever seen. And then eventually I had just done enough like almost idealized realistic things that I was like, oh, I want to experiment with play a little bit, do some more abstracty things. So I'll make some abstract cactus, and what if I made a painting out of crack gloves and, put the people I care.
That is dope, by the way.
Yeah.
I want to take a picture of that before I leave, but
The other one is over there with it.
Gosh, those are so freaking cool.
And it changes. Like what I got interested in changed over time naturally because I was curious and doing the things I liked. So Moab is beautiful. Climbing is beautiful. Climbing all the world is beautiful. I'm visually stimulated. If I get really excited about a splitter, I might just paint it because it's really, really pretty. But I also like climbing photography, because it's really, really pretty. Like I took this photo of Samantha on the back of the Climbing Zine, issue 25. And yeah, I wanted to shoot that because it's really, really pretty. She's hanging dangly by her feet, and the root looks really cool.
I wanted to surprise her because so few things in the world are surprise, but she had sent me these photos and she's like, do you have a cover yet for the next issue? And then I was like, oh yeah, I already have this photo of Mary. And then I sneakily, I think, tried to put it on there, but I think she might have found out on social media before it actually got to her. But I do love how we were able to do that. And she's like hanging upside down by her legs and at a supposed rest. It's almost like your artistic nature was already there
it's just
before
peaked.
climbing.
Yeah, well, it existed long before climbing.
Yeah.
When I was a little kid, I had elementary school, maybe third or fourth grade. I had two goals. It was 1, to own every Barbie in the world, and number 2, to be the best artist in the world, which is so weird. Climbing didn't exist to me until I moved to Utah, and a full year after I moved to Utah, because, I was not a climber. I didn't know climbing was a thing. And then I met climbers, and I asked them what the heck they were doing, and I kind of wanted to try. I liked dumb stuff. I wanted to do that too, but my art has always been what I like. And when I was a kid, I liked fantasy stuff. I was a big fan of Xena Warrior Princess. That stuff was cool. But then as I became an adult, what became cool was the real world, the beautiful places you can go. That became cool. And like my friends became cool. And then climbing photography became cool. All that stuff is kind of naturally along the way. I will be an artist my whole life. I will be lucky if I'll get to climb my whole life. Probably a certain point climbing might hurt too much, but I should always be able to at least maybe sit in the parking lot and take some shots of people. I was making this comment the other day. I was like, you know what I kind of would love to do when it hurts too much to walk up a hill is just get a lawn chair, a really nice lens, and just take some pictures of people climbing from the parking lot.
What's that guy, the El Cap guy does that.
Oh, yeah, like that, but just
Evans,
random parking lots. And then just spray continuously at people and make it to where they're late to go rock climbing.
That old lady.
You're like, here, you want to get appearances on my flash drive? I'll get you the picture. And then forget to send them the picture. That'll probably be the way. I'm not going to climb hard roof cracks for the rest of my life. That's probably going to end at some point, realistically.
I'm making peace with at a downhill trajectory with my abilities with crack climbing. It does seem like crack climbing maybe doesn't have the longevity that other forms of climbing does. You're in it. I think something you describe really well in here too is how off width is a body type thing, and what do you do to balance off that, like just that energy, that for a lack of a better word, masochism within crack climbing?
Yeah.
Is there diet?
Yeah, I do take care of myself. No, I don't watch what I eat. More of my specific problem, I think every athlete has a different problem, is making sure you eat enough. I have to make sure I eat enough. So I just try to make sure I'm getting enough calories for what I'm doing and enough protein, enough carbs, enough things like that. Like a light climber is not a strong climber. I want to be strong. I want to have muscles. I want to fuel my body. I want to hydrate my body. I want to stretch my body and condition my body. So like conditioning with weights, take care of your back, my neck, stretching, making sure you're eating enough, making sure you're getting enough of what your body needs, and hydrating yourself is good. Sunscreen, wearing sunscreen.
You look pretty light skinned.
Yeah, I didn't wear enough of it in my early 20s and I regret it. But like, I'm big hat energy, honestly. Like, but I do the best I can. And I also try to get enough sleep. I have learned that I'm 9-hour need of sleep person.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, just kind of those things. Everybody has different needs for their body, and it's important to learn that. This is why I love being a well-rounded climber, and I will climb everything, is because at a certain point, if you're crimping all the time, your fingers get cronky. If you're finger crack climbing all the time, your fingers get cronky and you rip gobies. If you're off-widthing all the time, your neck and your hips and like your shoulders get weird. Climbing is really hard on the body. And so I think it's really important to be able to rotate your climbing interests to kind of give your body a break in that specific way. As soon as I'm finger crack climbing and I start to feel like I have gravel in my joints, I back off and I go choose to do something else for a couple weeks. When I'm roof crack climbing and I feel, because I have like neck problems from guiding for so long, roof crack climbing really aggravates it. So I only do so much of it in a year, and I try to like switch it up as soon as it's done. And I also have to do specific neck PT. For a while I had weak ankles, and so I did PT for my ankles, and I still do maintenance for that. So it's like rotate the pain around and figure out what you've abused and do PT to support it. Don't just have a one-track mind. Don't be a princess. That's what I try to remind myself. Don't be a little trad princess. Like, just do other things. It's good for you. Rotate the potato. And then at a certain point, if a genre of climbing is like too painful, grieve it. Maybe reduce what you do in it and maybe revisit it later. But there's other forms of rock climbing and they're just as good. They're so fun. There's so much fun climbing. Probably is a point where I won't be able to do certain things, but hopefully I can climb some version of some climbing for as long as possible.
At the end of this essay, there's a statement that there was one climb I was too afraid to add
100%.
to the spreadsheet, and that's called the Century Crack, which was made famous by Tom Randall and Pete Whitaker. It's seen a few repeats, not too many. But when I came in here today to your house, you spoke of your training session last night. So you're specifically now training for the Century Crack.
Yeah.
Can you, just talk a little bit about that? And I want to see your crack setup in your garage too. Yeah. Which also reminds me of, the Wide Boys were famous. Tom and Pete are called the Wide Boys. They were famous for their training cellar and they captured it really well in film. When you wrote this article, was it a maybe and then it became something you're interested in after you finished it, or?
It was completely because of this article. This article made me examine so much about my off-width climbing and journey in off-width climbing and look at my motivations, my fears, my past bad experiences, my past good experiences, the people I've loved, and the routes that I thought were really cool. It made me really kind of like confront a lot of things. That's why this article took so long, right? Because it was just like, wow, there was a lot to unpack there. And one of the things I discovered along the way, this sounds so corny, was that I was afraid of Century Crack. The reason why I was afraid of it was because I was afraid of the training. I was afraid to train for something for 2 years. Just that. Because I like so much variety in my rock climbing now. You know, that's like that Instagram handle I made fun of myself for. I love variety now. I'm not so one-track minded. I like so many different things. I get bored easily a little bit. I rotato the potato all the time. And so I'll spend a whole summer sport climbing and then, do a white rim route and then go to Europe, then go bouldering all winter. Like, I just love so much variety. I was afraid of that training ruining my love of climbing because it's so brutal and for so long. And then getting on the route and getting shut down and then having this like really long sufferfest to just get like my ass handed to me, and also I was afraid of the training breaking my body because it's really hard on you. Like Danny Parker said to Samantha, and we keep repeating it to ourselves because like he felt like he was on the verge of injury the entire time that he was training for Century Crack.
He did the third ascent.
Yeah.
And it was on the cover of Volume 15 doing that.
Yeah. And he told her that he felt he was on the verge of injury the entire time. And that's honestly how we felt the entire time. And I was so afraid of the Century Crack training really injuring me because it's just some logistics. Like I'm 100 pounds. The rack that they used was 12 and a half pounds. They're all bigger dudes than me. It's like proportion.
Fives and sixes? Or?
Yeah, fives. And they actually ran things out in a way that was like super dangerous. All of them did.
All three of those.
Yeah. And I'm not willing to take that risk on 514. I'm going to carry a couple more cams. So my rack could be 14 pounds. That's just a percentage of my body weight. And so I realized that. I was like, oh, what's keeping me from wanting to do Century Crack is all these fears. The reason that I even went for those harder climbs to begin with, other white rim routes is because I like to be challenged. I like to confront my fears in climbing. Could I even do it? So why was Century any different? It's not. It's just the other thing I was afraid of. So why not be willing to fail? That was the question that came up in my mind in Squamish after we had, I think, our last real meeting about that article. I had this thought pop up. And I was like, why am I afraid to fail on Century Crack? I should let myself fail. I was allowing to let myself fail on Necro. I was allowing myself to fail on Mamba. Why am I not allowing myself to fail on Century Crack? And so I noodled on it. And in Squamish, I asked Samantha, and I was like, would you train for Century Crack with me? And would you do that with me? And she was like, are you serious? And I'm like, I'm dead serious. I was like, we'll devote the next 2 to 3 years to it. And I was like, and we might walk away empty-handed. It's a good chance. And she was like, I'm in. And I'm like, are you sure? Like, you have to be willing. We could train all next year and then spend all these months on it and not send. Or maybe only one of us sends. Are you going to be emotionally okay to handle that? And then what if it needs another year? And then what if we still fail? And then we have to walk away at some point. Is that going to be something that's going to ruin your climbing for you? I don't want it to ruin climbing for you. I want to try and be willing to fail in a big way. Is that something you're willing to do too? And she's like, yes. She's like, there's no proj but the one proj. There's only one real proj. And I'm like, wow, I think I found like the perfect exact like single-minded person for this. And we have different strengths too. Like we motivate each other in different times. Like I struggle really hard to do a session before we've even started. I pout, I whine, I drag my feet, I complain.
All you have to do is walk out to the garage.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like I'll get a little combative with her. I'll be like, "You're Sergeant General, gosh!" But then as soon as I start training, my happiness kicks in. Like I train really well, so then I'm like happy the entire session, even when I'm suffering. But then Samantha is really able to motivate us to get to the training, but then she'll have a hard time during and after. And then so I'm able to like talk her up, talk things through with her, keep her more motivated after. So we're like mental weaknessing at different spots, but it's like compatible. And it's really cool. And I'm really grateful for it. And I'm like, I really struggle before I even try. And you really struggle during and right after. We have to do reframing. We're compatible in that way. And it's really good. Yeah. She's definitely keeping us on track, that one. I think I asked because I knew she would be the one to keep me honest and to keep me doing it. I think she would like hunt me down if I tried to leave town. And it's funny, yeah, like you came in here and we were like, oh yeah, we're all training for Century Crack. And it's really funny because I didn't ask my partner, my boyfriend, to train for Century Crack, even though he really loves off-wit. And it was because he likes like climbing outside too much and like climbing every day. He doesn't like training. So I didn't want to like do that to him. But the funny thing is, he was like hearing all of my plots and plans and like not really, interested. And then Samantha and I had so much fun. We were like training the first 2 weeks and like going to the garage and like disappearing and like woohoo, He started to get a little quiet. He started to ask me like, what did you guys do in there? What workout did you do? How many sets of what? How many minutes? And like how much rest? Like he started asking all these questions. And then after we were done, he would slink into the garage and then come back all sweaty. And it was like 2 weeks of it. And I was like, Foreman, are you training for Century Crack? And he was like, well, you figured like might as well. Everybody else is. So, like I figured, you'll be out there. So I might as well. But now he's like fully in it. He bought his first ever training plan. And that's so funny to me. Yeah, the adjacent person.
Century Crack house. Wow. I feel it's an honor to be here in your house, and it is very beautiful. And just this whole experience working with you made me learn a lot about not as much climbing, but just like being an artist, like the artistic process. Thanks. And I'm proud of you for telling this story.
Yeah.
And like I said, I was ready to give up on it. And then right at the last minute when I was ready to give up on it, you sent me the draft that became the final draft.
Yeah.
And so
Samantha helped me with that too. I cried about it a few times. I was like, this is so hard. I don't like to.
Writing's really hard.
Yeah, I didn't like to open up in that way. And
all about writing, especially.
Yeah, and then Samantha's like, you're keeping secrets with these drafts. That's why they suck to you. That's why you don't like them, is because you're not like being fully open, trying to like protect yourself. She's like, you need to go fully out there. That helped. She's a really good writer too. She's like, you're hiding things from the reader. You need to be fully open. And I'm like, it's scary. I think that was like good advice.
We could probably talk another hour or so on art. I truly feel like that's our job as writers, artists, is to put everything you can for the reader, because the reader then benefits. And then you're a whole complete human too.
Well, you also benefit, It's just like the Century thing is the fear of it. Fear of doing it, the fear of putting yourself out there. Like, it's hard to put yourself out there. And like, I struggle with that. I would much rather like retreat into my cave and smoosh paints around and then go climb routes where no one else was around. And but I no, that's not good for me though. It's better for me, and I've realized this more and more in my life. It's better for me to put myself out there, for me to share art, for me to share photography, for me to go and photo my friends, for me to go and like go to festivals and go be involved in the community and not like hide because I'm nervous. It's good to put yourself out there. It's good to write articles about things that are important to you, even though like it feels really personal and scary. It's good to try for things that are big.
Well, I think that's a perfect place to end. And yeah, thank you for everything you've done for the zine. I know you brought a whole audience to the zine.
Sweet. That
I'm sure is a new audience, and then hopefully vice versa. The zine people can see Trad Princess isn't just a Trad Princess.
No, don't be just a Trad Princess. Climb all the things.
Climb all the things. Right on. Well, thank you so much, Mary.
Thanks.
And this is a great way to start my summer road trip.
Woo-hoo.
So, woohoo. All right, that was my conversation with my friend Mary Eden. I'm on my way up to Wyoming for the 10 Sleep Climbing Festival this next weekend. Hope to see some friendly faces there. And then Zaz, our shipping manager, is going to be representing the zine in Lander at the International Climbers Festival there in July. So please look for Climbing Zine booths at both of those events. Music from this episode is by Devin Dabney. Our digital producer is Chad Rich. And signing off from my truck in Rifle, Colorado, about to head up to Wyoming. I'm Luke Mihal. Peace.